Okay, guys, we're live. All right, welcome to the first episode of the Road to Positive Aging Summit 2026. This is a six-part series streaming once a month as we gear up for the 2026 event in Adelaide, held on the 20th and 21st of May at the Hilton. If you missed this year's event, then you missed what was the underdog event of the year. Today's episode will cover the importance of positive aging, the 2025 summit highlights, and also what you can expect from the 2026 event. Mark Ryu and Dr. Tim Henwood are my co-hosts for this series, and our special guest for this episode is Simon Kerrigan. Since it's the first episode, we'll get everyone to do a quick intro, starting with Mark, then Tim, then Simon. And after that, Mark will take it away as he will be guiding these conversations. My name is Anthony Nguyen, aged care recruitment expert and host of the Pioneers in Aged Care podcast. So if you're looking for an allied health position in aged care, just let me know. Over to you, Mark.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Great to have you joining us. I'm Mark Ryu, the commercial manager for AAA and also Positive Aging Summit. This being the first one, the conversations will be very free-flowing, and anyone who's online, please feel free to make comments. Let us know if there's anything that we missed or want us to talk about. Everyone's welcome to join. And on that note, I'll hand it over to Tim, just as an intro.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Tim Henwood. I'm the principal consultant with AgeFit Solutions and working very, very closely with Mark to coordinate and organise the 2026 event after we had such a great time doing it on the 2025 event. And by great time, I mean we've really secured a solid friendship and had a lot of laughs. But yes, we also feel as well that we did something incredibly important. And so we're really keen to try to reproduce that or something even better for the 2026 event.
I suppose it's me. Well, hello, everyone. It's me. Hello, everyone.
Simon.
I don't even know if anyone's on the call. I was expecting some sort of like flood of people potentially. Like it's not quite a
little heart.
It could come after.
Yeah,
that's what I was hoping. Yeah, I thought we'd get something. So I don't know if anybody's listening, but if not, obviously, massive thank you to Anthony and Mark and Dr. Tim. Geez, they must just give those doctorates out to anyone these days, Tim. But
I'll put one in the post for you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That'd be great. But yeah, guys, thanks for having me. Very, very excited to be on here talking about the Positive Aging Summit. I said it in a few posts that I put on LinkedIn, but it really was my favorite conference of 2025. And to be fair, probably throughout my whole career in aged care. So just a little bit about me, I suppose. I'm a physio by trade. Much to my friends' dismay, I don't do a stack of physio anymore, and always tell them once you hit 65, come and see me. Otherwise, I'm not much good to you. But I'm also the founder and managing director of Guide Healthcare. So we're an external provider of allied health services into aged care, home care in the disability sector. We've just launched a new business called Guy Collective, which is our wellness offering. So we're opening an over 50s gym, Pilates studio, allied health clinic, and hydrotherapy pool in North Sydney, and hopefully a few more to come in the future. But yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Simon. Great to have you. Before we start, I do want to kind of thank everyone that were involved with this year's event. I mean, it was a wild idea, or that's what we thought, Tim and I, about 2 years ago, I think, when we started just talking about it. And then to see it, become this thing that people just really enjoyed being a part of. I'm definitely proud of that. And also just very thankful to everyone involved, speakers, sponsors, the AAA editorial team, the intermedia events team as well. Because in the end, I'm not an expert in allied health, like in any way, but I'm just I'm a lucky guy who's got really good people around me, including Anthony, Tim, and Simon. So thank you. So Tim, with this, so Tim is the conference advisor. So he really is the brains, with the brain behind the event. You are. So what was your?
You watch my wife will write something down the bottom now. Yes.
I was waiting for that. She's
No,
like,
no,
she's
she
active.
can't stay
Tamara's
online
active on the
apparently.
chat
So
already.
Behind every great man, in front of every great man. Yeah.
in saying that, Tam is amazing. We all know that. But yeah, I mean, like, what was your key takeaway from this event, apart from all the friendships that we, like new ones that we made, the ones that we bolstered, made stronger.
It was so many good things. Like Simon's touched on it already, and I think it was Bernard Morrison, the first winner for the Positive Aging Summit, who was all about like he felt like he'd found his tribe, was the way he catchphrased the whole event. And I think a lot of people felt like that. They arrived at something that they'd been dying to go to for years, and it actually presented quite well. I think if I did think about one takeaway, Mark, from the last event, and even what's happening for this event, it's how freely people gave their times. Like, and even you, Simon, you said it at one stage. You said it wasn't about like, actually generating business. It was more about supporting an event that you truly believed in. And so we had people who paid for, interstate flights and accommodation. We had people who came from all around, not to be delegates, but also to be speakers, like just through their time very, very generously at being part of this event. And I think that is a massive testament to how much this event's potentially needed in the reablement, positive aging, and in the Australian space currently, as well as a massive testament to how many people are really, truly interested and want to connect with this sort of information.
Yeah, and like I agree. And my takeaway from this event was, I mean, like one, like you said, the fun that we had putting it together. I mean, like it wasn't an easy journey, but once we got there, it was just, like it was amazing. It was, very positive. And then just seeing the smiles at the event, because it didn't feel like an event or a conference, but it was more of a gathering, and people just loved it. And me being a nervous wreck up until the Tuesday before the actual date of the event, just seeing that, just I mean, like one made me relax quite a bit, obviously, but just the fact that we were able to achieve this, it just it definitely was a great event. And yeah, to you, Simon, in terms of.
Yeah, a couple of things, Mark. I can attest to the fact that you're a nervous wreck. I remember you were a nervous wreck as we were setting up our booth. I don't think I've never seen you, anything else but happy and jovial. And there was definitely a bit of a nervous energy to you at the start of the conference, mate. So it was good to hear you got over that. But I just very quickly? So my journey with you guys to the Positive Aging Summit started, if you remember, in I think it was October, when we met at the pub in Adelaide before the Aging Australia conference, I think. And,
AA,
you guys
call it AA.
AA conference. People might get confused. So, and you guys were telling me, hey, we've got this idea. We're going to do a conference that's all about sort of positive aging and allied health and wellness and lifestyle. And, we want to share this message. And I'll be honest, I walked out of that meeting thinking it's not going to happen. That's the honest answer. And literally, I got a phone call in like January. I'm not sure if it was Tim or you, Mark, and it was like, it's happening in like 2 months or something like that. So somehow, it sounds like the brain child or the thought process were happening earlier, but the fact that you were able, with the teams and with everyone who was supporting, and I think as you rightly touched on, Mark and Tim, the community got behind it, and that was definitely something that we felt. So yeah, obviously massive congratulations to you guys.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out too. Like honestly, Mark and Tim, I've looked at hosting conferences, not actually doing it, but I've talked to people who have organized other conferences as well, and the amount of work that goes into it, and looking at the polished product they put out. You guys put out the same product, and it was your first one. And so you guys are really change makers. But not only did you put an event together, you put an event together of where there were other change makers as well. Everyone at the conference is pushing to do something for aged care. Like there was a different type of intensity and purpose. I think Judith Leeson put it best. Passion and purpose is what differentiates this conference from the other ones. The other ones that I've been to, I love them. I've been to a lot of conferences, and for me, at least, I can speak to myself, but they're all great. It's a chance for me to network and build what I'm building. But this is the first time where I went and I thought, I think I've just made 200 friends. So I think that was the difference between this one, where it wasn't necessarily all about business. I think it was more about relationships, which it goes hand in hand. But there's that was my slight difference. So congratulations to you guys for putting that together in the short space that you did. And just hearing Simon say he couldn't believe you actually did it and didn't think it would happen. I would have thought the same thing if I had that first conversation with you guys.
Well, Anthony, that surely the check's in the mail from us, to us too. After that, that's we couldn't have praised the boys anymore. But no, it's obviously all true. But I was going to say a couple of little things. Tim, I can't believe you'd bring up Bernard so early in the piece. Obviously, I'm still reeling from not being successful in the inaugural Paul Johnson Award. Which just slapped it right back in my face. 12 months. 12 months. Maybe we'll go again in 2026. I'm not sure. But anyway, it was.
Are you going to cry? Are we going to get that story?
I can tell you about that.
So early.
Maybe too early.
I know, it is pretty early on.
Okay, sorry. I don't know the story, so I don't know if there's like something serious behind it. And I apologize if it was insensitive.
No, it's not insensitive. I'm happy to talk about it. Well, maybe we'll circle back. But I will say though, guys, obviously to be up there with Bernard and with Sheehan in the Paul Johnson Award was a huge honor. So and I'm sure we'll get some really amazing entrants this year as well. But yeah, my key takeaway it was really, I went back and had a look at, I was taking photos throughout the whole conference, and I went back and had a count of how many screenshots of slides that I took. And I actually took 88 photos of slides. 88. Yeah. True story. And when I tried to have a think about what was my key takeaway, I honestly couldn't do it. It was just, there was too many. I think, to be honest, if some of my highlights, I sort of had a bit of a think. And Dr. Chris Boland for me was one. I took a lot of key takeaways from some of his slides, particularly with what we're doing in the Guy Collective or our wellness hub spaces. And Marcus Riley also did an incredible presentation, and there was many more. Off the top of my head, I remember Maury Voicey Bullen did, and I think it was Julie did a great presentation where they were up there playing music and talking about the power of fun and humor and entertainment. You've already mentioned Judith, who's a pretty key part of my story as well, and obviously Jenny and Justin and our friend Kate, like so many who did great presentations. But just the fact that there was 88 photos of slides for me just meant the relevance. There was so many things that I sat there and went, oh, we can use that, or that's a great idea, or that's a key takeaway that we then took and have either used or are in the process of us, I suppose, taking inspiration from some of those ideas and putting them into practice with what we do at Guide, which is really cool.
Two things from that, Simon. Justin Cowan, I obviously do the Stronger Through the Ages podcast, and we talked about it the other day. And the names you mentioned, and for exactly the same reasons you mentioned those names, with some of his key takeaways as well. Chris Boland, I think, really resonated with everybody, and even he was saying, Kate Weger really bought the personal side of things and talked about skin integrity, which just so many of us don't think about as being that pathway to reablement. So that really resonated with Justin as well. And the other thing was how engaged people actually were with the slides and with the speakers and with the presentations. You go to these events and people are on their phones or people are typing on their computers, and we had it set up so, table effect. So people could have been on their computers the entire time, but there were no computers to be seen anywhere. So people it gave us, and we've talked about it, it gave us the impression that people were truly engaged with what was happening on stage, because they could feel the value of this perspective of positive aging and reablement, which maybe they hadn't thought about. And that was, we charged everybody. We went through with all the speakers and we made sure that nobody was able to sell their product. It was not a sales pitch. We wanted everybody to try to leave the delegate group with something they could take away and embed into services. And this is exactly what you're talking about. Like, yep, we can use that. We can use that.
Yeah, Tim, you make such a good point. And I would say sitting in the audience, I felt that. Like, for me, it was one of the only conferences I've been to where I felt that everyone was giving me useful information that was relevant to my role. And this is not a criticism of other conferences. We go to lots of conferences, but they're speaking about a different message. For, you know, to be completely honest, and just to kind of call it out, for the most part, when we go to aged care conferences as allied health professionals, we're kind of searching through the list of speakers or the list of topics, looking for something that's relevant to what we're doing in that space, which isn't to say that we can't learn about the other aspects that are happening within aged care. But in terms of positive aging, reablement, allied health, you know, we are making up a much smaller part of what's being communicated within most of those conferences. On the other hand, at the Positive Aging Summit, you know, it was just back-to-back relevant speakers. And again, no one was trying to sell. I really felt that. You know, I can give a great shout out to the guys over at Planner who obviously our direct competitors, but Rob and Jason, they were on one of the panels, and like they did an unbelievable job. I think from memory, they're talking about support at home, but I sat there going, wow, like those guys are really up to speed, and I really learned something from them during that as well. So apart from them being good mates of ours, you know, they are obviously part of, you know, work for a competitor or a competitor of ours. But again, you know, it didn't feel like that. So Tim, I think your point's, you know, well made for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the other thing is with Tim and I and the previous conversations that we had, it was about that gap with all these other conferences and the, you know, like, I mean, to be quite frank, the lack of focus on allied health. And yeah, I mean, like this came into place because, you know, there was lack of a platform that talked about or highlighted, you know, any of that. So, and again, you know, like you said, Simon, you know, even I was quite doubtful at times as to, you know, because I was very confident when we first launched it. And I remember, you know, making a comment. I think it was on your LinkedIn post, Simon. I said, if you build it, they'll come. And then once we started building it, you know, we had doubts, Tim and I, like here and there. But then, you know, just to see that once we had this platform going, the amount of interest and support that we got from like everyone, that just, you know, it does tell you that this whole positive aging thing is not just a summit, but it could be. I think you said it as well, Simon, in your LinkedIn post to promote this event, is that it could be a movement, and it should be a movement. You know, which
people care. People care. Like, do you know what I mean? That's the one thing I will say. I mean, like physio, like allied health professionals, whether it's physios, OTs, EPs, podiatrists, speechies, dietitians, like, you know, leisure and lifestyle staff, the community of people within aged care who actually really care about creating a great experience for people who are living, you know, either in aged care or as part of the, you know, community setting and support at home. People really care, and we come up against a lot of challenges, and we really need community, and you need people who are kind of speaking the same language and want to be a part of that positive change. You know, and there's a real opportunity. Like, you guys have created an opportunity to be inspired by each other, and I think it's not surprising that people are jumping behind that movement.
What other alternatives are there if you're an allied health professional and you're passionate about aged care outside of Positive Aging Summit? Is there anything else that they could go to? Because, like Simon, you said yourself, you go to all these other conferences. There's allied health is not really front and center. It's not even adjacent sometimes.
I think a lot of people end up at their discipline-specific events, and you know, they're a great community, but often they're really academically focused. Like Exercise and Sports Science Australia is a classic example. I'll go to the event next year of a general practice and an aged care type of focus. But yeah, when I've been previously, you just hear about somebody studying muscle and studying aerobic and stuff like that. And a lot of that's just not really practical, particularly for the aged care space. and one of my biggest bugbears, having been an academic in a previous life, one of my biggest bugbears is the lack of translation, and that academics expect that their randomized controlled trial, where they've controlled for a variety of diseases, dementias, mobilities, and all that sort of stuff, could be actually then translated into an aged care setting. So there's all these different components where this event, and so the Australian, the Australasian thing of gerontology, AAG, that's just been on. Great turnout, lots of good feedback through looking at LinkedIn and stuff like that. But again, it tends to be very academic. And so I think we're really about the translational evidence, and it's not a one size fits all. And I said this before, there's so many little components that make up good reablement practice in aged care, because it's not just having the right program. It's not just having the right allied health. It's about having the right combination of disciplines in the allied health team. It's about the right environment. And then we're talking about the leadership group and the governance and how much the organisation values it and all that sort of stuff. It just is, it's incredibly complicated. And then when you get right down into the weeds, the actual delivery to the individual has to be individualised and is incredibly complicated. So I think our event really sits fairly and squarely in opening up that really, really broad conversation.
And just so we're not preaching to the converted, sorry, Simon, for those allied health professionals outside of aged care who have no idea what reablement is, if they're working in private practice or NDIS and they're sort of curious about getting into aged care, but they've all thought of the pain management massages as being the core of what allied health professionals do in aged care. Can you guys talk about the importance of reablement, how the profession inside aged care has shifted?
Oh, who's jumping in? Looks like you're pausing from there.
All going through my mind is the bloody bad news stories about how bloody crap some of these programs can actually be, but how much opportunity there is. So I'm going to let you go first, Simon, and then I'm going to circle back around with, I think, a bad news story that's going to then preface a good news story.
Okay, I'm going to go just straight to the positive, because that tends to be to my approach. I think sometimes the bad news stuff takes too much of a forefront in aged care. So when I think about reablement, for me, it's about focusing on the individual, supporting people to work towards what goals are important to them, putting sort of individualized plans in place, and making sure that they have access to a variety of different sort of multidisciplinary and other services in order to support them to basically work towards what a great life, what a great outcome looks like for them. How do we improve people's quality of life? And we need to recognize that people are the experts in their care and their lives. So we shouldn't be coming in and saying, like, this is what, you should be receiving. What's important to me might be different to Anthony, yourself, and Mark and Tim as well. So I wrote down, and I thought this was one of the slides, because I'd had a quick flick through the slides. And this was actually a definition from Deidre McGill from Bolton Clark. And this was actually the definition of positive aging, which I thought was really cool. So a little bit different, but along the same vein. It's the process of maintaining a positive attitude towards aging and maximizing opportunities for participation, health, and security to enhance quality of life and holistic well-being. Well, for mine, if that's the goal, if we're making sure we're supporting people to have a positive outlook towards aging, if we're maximizing the person's opportunity for participation and health and security, obviously to enhance quality of life and holistic well-being. If that's the goal, which is obviously the goal of this conference and should be the goal for us as allied health professionals and other aged care workers, I think that's a pretty powerful sort of North Star for us. And again, for us, if we're thinking reablement, that's all part of this positive aging journey. I think that sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, and so to tell my side of things, I think for years, and you would have seen it, Simon, you've been in this game for long enough now. Once upon a time, it was the massage, it was the 4Bs in the residential aged care, and You know, a lot of universities didn't set people up to really define the difference between community and residential. So there was a low level of understanding for allied health trafficking into the aged care space. But for a lot of time as well, we were really frightened we were going to hurt people. Seated exercises, gentle exercises, balloon tennis, zero, low resistance, set and forget programs. But I think now we are seeing more of a translational piece. Yes, I think we've still got a long way to go for everybody to embrace it and really wrap around what good allied health therapy, health and wellness and clinical exercise delivery looks like in the aged care space. I think we've still got a little ways to go, but I think there is greater opportunity. I think there's really good relationships being developed. I think there's good leadership coming through that's actually making people do evidence-based programs across all levels of diseases and disabilities. And also, I think there's a whole lot of people who are coming towards the prevention space as well. Like, you know, they're realizing that if they don't get involved, then life's going to be harder in 5, 10 or so years. So I think allied health professionals who are looking for an enduring career that they can actually develop ongoing relationships with clients, I think aged care is truly an emerging space under that reablement banner.
Oh, can I say, Tim? I agree with you 100%. I think I'll speak from a physio perspective. Being a physio in aged care, I love it as a setting in terms of, you know, opportunities for career progression, to use our clinical skills. I mean, for some reason, the idea that if you're a physio in aged care, people think that somehow you're diminishing your value or your skill set, when in actual fact, we're often the only physio within that space. We're getting referrals for every type of physiotherapy-based intervention that you can possibly imagine. And the cool thing is we get the freedom to basically almost run our own race in terms of, we can prioritize working with long people's for long periods of time. And Tim, to your point around building those relationships, like I love the fact that it's not a clinical setting. You know, I can bring my real self to work every day, you know, and really, I guess, sort of embed myself within the home and the community. And that's certainly something that we want to pass on. But I would agree with you, Tim. Like I do think we got a long way to go. There's no doubt about that. We are a little bit hamstrung at the moment with the fact that there's no funding. So the definition of what a physio should be doing within the aged care space at the moment is a little bit limited. So we are seeing a bit of a reduction in hours, which is a shame. However, what we do need is passionate, you know, awesome physios who are up to date on the evidence, Tim, as you touched on, but also have the kind of creativity to be able to kind of mold that evidence and implement it within the aged care environment to support the residents and clients that we support to get the best possible outcome. So the opportunity is huge. We definitely need people to be coming in outside of the aged care sector in order to continue to kind of help us to learn and evolve and you know, push towards where we actually want to be.
Yeah, like I think, so the community aged care space, I think the funding is great. Like, you know, now we've got support at home coming through. We've been sort of given a ballpark figure for around $190 per contact hour. And, you know, we're not having to, the client doesn't need to pay an out of pocket. Like it's the one level of service where the government's gone, everybody gets it because it's so important. And I think that is still not well realised by aged care providers. I think the community opportunity, I don't know if the government are doing this strategically or they're just doing it accidentally, but I think they've actually pushing people towards reablement models of care in the community. They're going to fund it really well. It's going to be a level playing field. And if aged care providers move towards that space, especially if they can have some of that team working internally, so that the government funding actually covers all their associated costs quite well, I think the opportunity is phenomenal.
Tim, that's enough of that, mate. That's enough of that. That's enough of that internal stuff.
Halfway, mate.
No.
I'll make you halfway. Yeah.
Yeah. You said some of it. I got that. No, hey, look, I tend to agree. We're excited about what's happening in the support at home space. Not to take away from the windy, bumpy road to November 1, and not, there's obviously been some challenges in terms of the communication and how we've kind of got here. But there's no doubt there's some opportunity there for us as allied health professionals within support at home. The fact that that there is improved funding, we're excited about that as well. Not to take away from the fact that because as an allied health business, we are actually drawing from lots of different spaces. This is my opportunity. I was nearly launched into a sell, and then I thought that's not what positive aging is about, is it? But I do think there's value still in external providers because we have been doing this a long time, and I think there's plenty that we can do in terms of how you use that funding and how you get the best outcomes.
Yeah.
So I guess to that,
to build the internal team is hard, and we've seen this over and over again because it's not. You don't just need a good idea or a good gym or a good leadership model. You actually need an established pathway. Like when I was with Southern Cross Care down here, like the reason we were able to attract staff is because we had a big operational model that people went, hey, they're doing great work. That's really exciting. I want to go and work with them. And a lot of aged care providers just don't have that yet.
So on that, Tim, in terms of, what will be covered in next year's event, I mean, like you and I are talking about it all the time, but I guess from Simon's point of view as well, is there an area, just based off what you just mentioned, any specific areas that we should have a look at in terms of, what to cover during the short 2 days that we have to, there's so much to be covered. And we, obviously we would love to have it go for days and days, but in the short 2 days that we have, is there anything that you think will be very crucial for us for next year?
Are you asking me or are you asking Simon?
Simon first.
Tim. Oh, me. Gosh, it's a good question. I was going to try and delay and throw down some quick ideas. Look, for me, I'm going to just speak from a physio perspective because, to be honest, that's kind of what I default back to. I think we should be doing everything we can to promote independence. And a big part of that independence piece is the ability to maintain mobility, the ability to be able to engage with their community, ability to be able to feel. I feel like that independence piece, the mobility piece, is something that feeds very heavily into feelings of self-worth. It gives us the ability to engage in activities that give us purpose and fun. It gives us the ability to continue to go social visits, all these sorts of things. So whenever I think about positive aging, particularly, again, I'm sort of focusing on the residential aged care space, which I tend to default into because that's kind of been my domain for sort of the last 12 years or so. We want to find ways to continue to encourage people to engage in those types of activities. So if I'm thinking about the positive aging, what I'd like to see at the event, continue to hear from people who are doing, creative and or doing things that are supporting people to continue to be active and keep moving and maintain their independence. Continue to hear ideas of how we can translate that evidence into things that we can apply practically. Always take those practical takeaways, and then also feed in all those other ideas. So we heard great ideas from dietitians. Obviously, you mentioned Dr. Chris, a number of different sort of professions that are all kind of focused on that primary goal, which is like that maintaining independence, maintaining mobility, maintaining function, ultimate improved quality of life. So I don't know. Maybe that's a little. I don't know if that's too narrow, or too broad. I'm not really sure, but for me, that's the
he wants everything. Mark, that's what he's saying. He wants a bit of everything in there. Wants a bit of everything.
Help people to stay active. Help people to stay independent. That's all I want to know.
Well, the aim is to keep this going every year, so I'm sure we'll have plenty of opportunities to cover off a lot of that. How about do you have anything to add, Tim, to Simon's points?
I think I'm really excited about the way the program's taking shape, Mark. Like, we have lengthy discussions about it. We didn't want to repeat what we did, well, as it is this year. So we wanted to build upon that. So we didn't want to repeat all the same sort of talks and also same sort of speakers. We do have a few people coming back. We're asking them to talk to different topics. so I'm really excited about things like, the Aged Care and Quality Safety Commission have volunteered to do a panel session. I think that's going to be really important because obviously we're in new standards now, so it's going to help people understand what the commission's actually going to be looking for. Because, I always tell the story. I got audited with Southern Cross Care a couple of times. They came in, they looked at home care with a fine-tooth comb, and they sort of went, "Oh, you guys do health and wellness. Good for you." And I think we're going to see a change in that. I think health and wellness programs, reablement programs are going to take a front and center. And so I am hoping, and I'm hoping that the commission, Gary, Mandy, and Edward will talk about this, that they will be looking for more of a demonstration of evidence-based programs, reliable programs, outcome-based programs. And I don't think it's going to happen in the next 12 months, but I'm hoping we will see, and I said about the evidence before, hoping we will see aged care providers, if they're going to get paid good money to deliver reablement programs, expected to achieve a certain standards of outcomes for their clients. I think that's fair. That's fair, isn't it, boys? That's fair.
I think it's fair. I think it's fair. I was gonna have a jab at the. I won't.
Did I get it wrong?
You've nailed it. You've nailed it. No,
because I always get it. I'm reading the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission. Yeah. What did I say?
Yeah.
What did I say?
No, you nailed it. No, you nailed it.
Thank goodness.
I think you did anyway. No, I was just going to say, I was worried we were going to. Nah, it's live anyway. We've moved past it. No, I was just worried we're going to scare people.
I've just got a call. The commission aren't presenting anymore because I got their name wrong.
Yeah, no, I was just worried you turning people away when you no, of course, I'm only joking. Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission, of course. Yeah. Anyway, no, you're 100% right, and it's actually really important that we move towards like an aged care where we are focused on outcomes. I think that's the to your point, Tim. Like we need to actually show that we're effective, and I mean that both from a compliance perspective, but also just from like an allied health perspective. Like let's hold ourselves accountable. Let's be let's aim high. And aiming high means that whatever we're doing for a purpose, and we're holding ourselves accountable that, hey, we're trying to work towards a particular goal, a particular outcome, and we want to be effective in that goal. So certainly, the compliance piece will be there, but from an allied health piece, just as professionals, as a community, we want to be accountable to that as well, I think.
Yeah, return to what I said before about, the gentle exercises and the seated programs and stuff like that. Can you imagine how many wellness programs people have allowed to actually get weaker over time? Like, it's just phenomenal. Like, you guys have all heard me tell a story about the first thing I did when I joined Southern Cross Care is went around to all my little gyms and grabbed all the 0.5 kilo dumbbells and put them in this bin.
Amen.
Because, people shouldn't be lifting 0.5 kilo dumbbells. Yeah. Nobody gets stronger lifting 0.5 kilo dumbbells. Yeah.
Hey, Tim, I read a really good post from your, or a good line, which I will definitely use from your post with Stronger Through the Ages. Gentle exercise lead to gentle outcomes. I think I think maybe I'm butchering it slightly, but something to that effect. And I completely agree with that as well. And I think this is probably a broader conversation, but there is probably a piece, and we're all sort of starting to talk about these messages and what we're trying to achieve. But for me, there is still a bit of a piece of what are we trying to do in aged care as a positive aging community? Because whenever we start to go down this road of reablement tends to be the term that gets thrown around in aged care, but let's call it rehab, which is kind of, they may be slightly different in their definition, but we are trying to essentially achieve a similar outcome. We're trying to improve people's function. We're going to try and improve people's independence. We're trying to improve their outcomes. They're very, let's call them very closely linked. And of course, the comment that always comes back is, aged care is not a rehab space. But then every time somebody goes to hospital post-fall or needing surgery or post becoming unwell, they skip rehab and come straight back to aged care. And I do think there's a piece that we need to be defining or, being better at talking about or start talking about, which is, what is it going to be defined as? What is aged care defined as? And if we are going to get serious about reablement or supporting people when they come into aged care, I don't know, what does that look like? And I mean, Tim, to your point, hopefully we're keeping people out of aged care through support at home funding, and we're supporting people to stay at home for longer. But at the end of the day, aged care is not going away. And if we are serious about positive aging enablement within the residential aged care space, we need to make sure that, as an industry, as a community, the government, needs to tell us or put some clear guidelines around what are we actually trying to achieve. Because otherwise we're kind of potentially banging our head up against the brick wall, trying to do something that, we're limited in.
Somebody's doing one thing and somebody's doing another thing, and we're not all doing the same thing. And power be to what you've done with Guide, mate. Like, I love some of the stuff, the competition amongst residential aged care adults doing crazy things that nobody would have ever suspected they would do, like 5-10 years ago. Like, really getting people mobilizing, getting people bending, standing, doing all sorts of stuff, which is, must be just phenomenal for the individual, but also for the home they're working with, because these people are mobilizing better. They're probably sleeping better. They're probably able to shower themselves more. They're having the dining room experience more. Like, this is all like, you said it before, like, residential aged care shouldn't be an end stop. It shouldn't just go, okay, we'll fade away, see you later. People should still be able to have a quality of life when they're in there. And Joe Boylan says it, like, a lot of people are there, they're alive, but they're not living. And, for personal side of things, my mum's in residential aged care. Nobody encourages her to get out of bed. Nobody encourages her to have the dining room experience. Nobody encourages her to do anything. Just happily work around it, have those transactional sort of services for her. And yes, she's in a safe place. Yes, she's happy. But yes, like, I would also love to see her down at the dining room having some laughs with some little old ladies, whether they're making sense or no sense, who cares? But yeah, still having some joy in her life.
Yeah, it's a conversation that we need to have, right, Tim? And a couple of things, like, you've put in here that we're frightened to help people, or frightened to get people to do things that we see challenging. And we're kind of, as an industry, we're still kind of limiting what we're supporting people to do or empowering people to do through that fear of injury, for the most part, mostly falls related injuries, or doing something that's potentially too hard for them, something resistance training based that might cause injury. There's this real fear. We're still protecting people, or less seemingly protecting people. But if we get towards the positive side of the Positive Aging Summit, right, the cool thing about then coming to this type of event is you're having conversations with all of these people who are going, either having the experience that you've having or have had them in the past, and you're working towards overcoming some of those challenges. So, like, from my perspective, if I've sort of worked in aged care since I was a new grad, and if you got too caught up in the limitations, and I know I brought these up, so I take full responsibility for the direction of this conversation. I know I basically went down the path of, hey, we need to have some tough conversations, and now I'm like, let's be positive. But basically what I wanted to say is that the cool thing about the summit is you can come and have these conversations. And one of the things that we always try and push across or impart on our team is, if we get stuck on the things that we can't control, then we're not going to go anywhere, right? But we have this opportunity again. I just love creativity as an idea, this idea that we can overcome everything. And actually, do you know what? I didn't write it down, but Marcus had an amazing slide on, if there was no problems, there'd be no need for creativity, something like that. Maybe I'll post it after this, but that really resonated with me. So I guess coming to these conferences gives us those sparks, those ideas, and that community to connect with people and go, hey, here's a way that you can overcome that, or here's a way that you can implement some sort of idea in order to go back to, whether it's the individual home that you're working at, or the organization that you're working at, or the community that you're supporting, and start to achieve those amazing outcomes that are driven by that positive aging kind of North Star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I might just pause for a second. Anthony, do we have anyone waiting?
No one else jumping on with us at the moment. But good pause, because I did two things I want to cover. Firstly, bringing back to that story of Simon crying, and secondly, asking Mark.
I'm gonna let it go. He's not
no,
gonna let it
I
go.
really want to know.
He's gonna be upset when he bloody.
I want to know the inside joke. I'm not FOMO. I want to
to
be part of the inside crew. But before we get into that, Mark, can you I think you did some post-conference tours. Are you organizing anything around that for this coming event?
Yes, we will be.
different?
Yeah, so for next year, a couple of differences that were improvements that we are working on, Tim and I, are introducing master classes. Because so we will have mainstream happening, which will be non-concurrent, just single stream. But alongside the mainstream, there will be master classes that we are currently working on. The program is getting close to being finalized. Tim, give us about a month.
Yeah, I reckon that's pretty fair. Yep.
Yeah, and then but yeah, just going back to your question, Anthony, there will be another site visit on the third day. We haven't confirmed the venues just yet, or the facilities, but that's definitely happening, and it's something that we'll be working on to make it better than this year.
Because I remember that being one of the highlights, and I missed out on that. So yeah, I'm definitely going to jump on one of those tours this time around.
Yeah, I mean, like, having the site visit and just seeing, what's actually happening, and obviously a bit of wine tasting here and there, and a nice, pub lunch always makes it better. So, but in saying that, I do want to thank Joe Boylan and also David Moran for supporting the tour. We're not sure, like I said before, we're not sure where the sites will be for next year, but we'll definitely keep everyone informed through the website.
All right, big crybaby, you're up, and I'm going to regret calling you that after I hear the story, if it's a sensitive story or not.
No, look, it's slightly sensitive, but it has a very positive outcome. No, it's all good. So I had the fortune of actually jumping on a panel with Tim, and I forgot who else was on our panel. I feel terrible now. Do you remember Tim? No, sorry, I apologize. Claire, sorry, sorry, Claire. Yeah. It was a traumatic moment, so no. So, and the panel went really well. So we had about an hour, at least I thought it went quite well. And at the end, Judith Leeson, she is a consumer advocate. She actually spoke the following day, and Judith asked a really important question around mental health and people accessing services if they have, a diagnosis of mental health. I think it was around, anyway, not hugely important, but she asked this question. And as we kind of started to explore, it was became apparent that the sentiment was maybe that people who have mental health challenges may miss out on services. And at the time, I was going through a period of depression. And so it felt very personal to me, that particular topic. And so I had the opportunity to say, hey, if we have the opportunity to support people through funding who are experiencing mental health, we should really, prioritize that, because from my own experience, exercise in particular has been something that's been very important to me to manage my depression. So, and as I got towards the end of, trying to make my point, it all fell apart. And Tim was sitting next to me on the couch, and I'll always be thankful to Tim. He came and wrapped an arm around me. I was inconsolable for the most part. And then I spent the next 5 minutes just hoping that this whole session would wrap up. However, that all sounds very sad. But what the amazing thing that happened was, as I got off stage, there was a queue of people coming over to give me a hug. Over the next hour and a half, I had more, strangers come and give me a hug than I've ever had in my entire life. And then the next day at the conference, I had nothing but kindness and positivity, and people telling me how brave it was, despite me not feeling particularly courageous or brave in the moment. So the key takeaways, and I've already warned Judith, no hard questions if I'm on a panel this year. I was like, there's no microphone for Judith. And my second takeaway is just make sure I've got Tim close by. If I need a big bear hug halfway through. But no, look, yeah, it was, it was funny as well, I should say, Anthony, because it was the last session of the first day, and we had such a positive first day. It was the Positive Aging Conference, and I managed to close it in tears. So, felt a little guilty for that, but no, it was, to be honest, it's something now that I look back on and just feel really lucky that there's such a great community of people who actually show me an incredible amount of love at a time when, I really needed it, not just in that moment, but more broadly. So I'll always be thankful to everyone who was there and who came up and showed me kindness on that day.
Yeah, I think if there's one moment that could capture, the type of people and the whole feeling around the summit, I think that's a story that I'd be telling people, starting off with you crying. But that was now I apologize for making fun of you.
Don't.
It's a really good extension. It's a really good extension of the relationships we made. Like there's so many people I had acquaintances with, never really met, feel like they're great friends. And like, in all honesty, like that the community of people who were there, like I really do feel like some of these people are probably amongst my best friendship group. As much as we're having sort of, conversations online or we talk about work or stuff like that, like, they're people I would rather spend some time with than half the kids I went to school with or uni 25 years ago. Because I know they accept me for who I am and they know where, I know that I've been on this soapbox for 20 odd years and they know that I'm loud and they know that I'm brash and they know that they can pick me across the room when I'm laughing because of my laugh and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, true friendships. I think it's fantastic what we've created. Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Tim's friends from high school. Sorry if you're listening.
That was the summit where I found out Tim was nicknamed the Moose. Tim the Moose.
Oh God, jeez, the Moose. Oh, the Moose.
We're coming up to the end.
So,
can we get some closing thoughts? Mark, we'll start off with you. Any closing thoughts? Anything we weren't able to cover? If you want to touch on.
No, I mean, this is
we'll
only the
go
first
around.
one out of the 6 that we're planning. So thank you, Simon, for coming on board. And we also have someone fantastic for the next one. We'll have the fantastic Marie Alfred from Hammond Innovations now, who's coming on board to join us for the next one. So I'm looking forward to that. And if you have any questions around the conference, just ask us over LinkedIn or email us, or just visit the website, which is positiveagingsummit.com.au. And then hopefully, I'll see a lot of you join us next year.
Nice. Tim, back on your soapbox for some closing thoughts.
On you guys, fantastic, great initiative, Anthony. And we must congratulate Anthony. He's the guy who came up with this and said, "Why don't we do this to try to promote this?" So very thankful, Anthony. I know you've been a great supporter. Like, we sort of got you on last year, said, "Hey, you can do this." And I know you did a ton of interviews. People were really like, and I'm going to put it back to you in a second when I finish my soapbox bit. I had all the interviews that you did. I'd love for you to talk about how giving people were of their times and the conversations they happily had with you at the Positive Aging Summit. So, but just to finish on the event, look, I'm really excited about next year. I think, as we talked about before, we've tried to really stay on focus about positive aging, but we're coming at it from a multitude of different directions this time around. We're trying to so some of the stuff that we learned over multiple conversations last year, we're trying to pack into these masterclasses, but got a whole new range of people coming back to talk on stage about everything from meaningfulness and social engagement, all the way a social prescription, all the way through. I talked about the commission, and we've also got a technology panel. We're very, very keen to talk about technology as well. And we've got Simon up on stage. We've finalised what he's going to have to talk about. It's not about his crying or anything like that. But we are, and you'll be happy to know because he's talked a little bit about his journey to get here. So we've got 3 speakers who we want very much to talk about their journey, their why aged care, why they've stayed, what made them passionate about the healthy aging and the reablement space. So I think that's a great opportunity as well for people to really have their heartstrings pulled in relation to why they're in reablement in aged care and why they've stayed, when it could have been private practice, it could have been the NDIS, it could have been the hospital system. Anthony, talk about all those people who did those interviews before we get Simon to wrap up, please.
Yeah. Oh, man. So I remember, I forgot whether it was you or Mark that came up. I think it was Mark that came up to me on the final hour of the last day. And my head was pretty much like, I was just staring off into space, sit by myself, because I was so emotionally spent, but at the same time emotionally fulfilled. The amount of people, it was nonstop. I interviewed so many people on the podcast, but also have had conversations, nonstop conversations, people just coming up and having a chat. And I got to learn about what everyone's doing. And I don't think I knew too many people coming into the conference. I knew a handful of people, but coming out of that, people were just so giving with their time. And I find they were giving with their time, but they had a genuine interest in what I was doing. And I was genuinely interested in what they were doing, because reablement, it does have a strong space in my heart, because it's allied health has changed my life. But yeah, everyone came at it with a conversation of wanting to do more, to learn more, and just be connected with everyone else. So I am very much looking forward to 2026, coming into it, like you said, coming into the event and looking forward to catching up with old or new friends now, new and old friends. So yeah, I can't wait. Simon, you're up.
That's all to me. Is a final word? I don't know if I should get the final word, but look, guys, from my perspective, yeah, I'm equally, I'm with you guys. I'm excited for next year's event. I'm really happy that you had such a successful first event, and excited that we've got the support to go and do it again. Not surprising if you're there. I think that the energy was amazing, and there's it's really nice to see you be able to get off the ground again. What am I most excited about? Really, much of the same. I don't really have any more to offer, to be honest. The same things that I loved about this year's, I'm sure will be there again. Great speakers, connecting with great people, getting new ideas, trying to find ways that I can get key takeaways from the incredible speakers and look at how we can push those ideas out. And honestly, when I say that I literally have a list of takeaways in my phone, I was going through it earlier today, and I went, oh yeah, I've still got to go back and have a look at that. So we've not got there, but yeah, it's always great to have those things that you're working towards. So I'm excited to go back and learn some more. And yeah, can't promise I won't cry on stage, especially if I'm talking about my wife. But at least I know I'll get plenty of hugs. So it'll be good.
All right, great way to wrap up.
Open to hugs. Yeah.
Free hugs.
That's it, guys. Thank you so much. See you guys in a month.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.